There need to be reasons to get up in the morning. You know, life can't just be about solving problems. Otherwise, what's the point? There's got to be things that people find inspiring and make life worth living.
People who've been in the rocketry business for decades, who say about you that you don't know what you don't know.
Well, I suppose that's true of anyone. How can anyone know what they don't know?
But when critics say you can't do this, your answer to them is,
we've done it.
He's done it in partnership with NASA, which has given SpaceX technical advice and a contract worth up to $1.6 billion.
You know, there are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight and the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that, because those guys are, you know, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough. You know, I wish they would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here. And I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
Did you expect them to cheer you on?
So they're hoping they would.
What are you trying to prove to them?
What I'm trying to do is to make a significant difference in spaceflight and help make spaceflight accessible to almost anyone. And I would hope for as much support in that direction as we can receive.
So I think it's important that you really like whatever you're doing. If you don't like it, life is too short. If you like what you're doing, you think about it even when you're not working. I mean, it'll just, it's something that your mind is drawn to.
That third failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
No.
Why not?
I don't ever give up. I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated.
Yeah, so as Jonah was alluding to, there are a lot of negative things in the world. There's a lot of terrible things that are happening all over the world, all the time. There are lots of problems that need to get solved. There's lots of things that are miserable and kind of get you down. But life cannot just be about solving one miserable problem after another. That can't be the only thing. There need to be things that inspire you, that make you glad to wake up in the morning and be part of humanity. That's why we did this. This guy called Tsiolkovsky, one of the early Russian rocket scientists, the great saying, "Earth is the cradle of humanity, but you cannot stay in the cradle forever." It is time to go forth, become a star-faring civilization, be out there among the stars, expand the scope and scale of human consciousness. I find that incredibly exciting. That makes me glad to be alive. I hope you feel the same way. You need to work, depending upon how well you want to do, and particularly if you're starting a company, you need to work super hard. So what does super hard mean? Well, when my brother and I were starting our first company, instead of getting an apartment, we just rented a small office and we slept on the couch. And we showered at the YMCA. We were so hard up, we had just one computer, so the website was up during the day and I was coding at night. 7 days a week, all the time. And I briefly had a girlfriend in that period, and in order to be with me, she had to sleep in the office. So work hard like every waking hour. That's the thing I would say, particularly if you're starting a company. And if you do simple math, say like if somebody else is working 50 hours and you're working 100, you'll get twice as much done in the course of a year as the other company.
SpaceX has announced an ambitious plan to send an unmanned capsule to Mars, bringing the company's CEO, Elon Musk, one step closer to his dream of colonizing the Red Planet.
This morning, the demand for Tesla's new Model 3 its most anticipated electric car yet, surprising even the company's CEO, Elon Musk.
So his plan is simple. He is going to start digging holes in the ground and turn those holes into a vast network of underground tunnels that will change transportation forever.
I think I feel fear quite strongly. So it's not as though I just have the absence of fear. I feel it quite strongly. But there are just times when something is important enough, you believe in it enough, that you do it in spite of fear. Like, people shouldn't think, oh, I feel fear about this and therefore I shouldn't do it. It's normal to feel fear. When starting SpaceX, I thought the odds of success were less than 10%.
How much did you put into this company?
Oh man.
Don't tell me you don't know.
No, I do. It's about $55 million.
$55 million of your own money.
Yeah, it's a little more than I expected.
A decade later, it's sort of the same situation. It's not his personal money, but the company is billions in debt. It was bleeding money at a level of something like $1 million every other hour. Still, he believed that if they're disciplined enough, if they try hard enough, if they sleep less and work hard, they'll reach a deadline. And we're coming to them at a point where they actually were able to do that. Their last quarter earnings, they actually are showing a profit for the first time in years.
When I first met you 10 years ago, this company was how many people?
We had about 500 people.
And now?
We're almost 50,000 people. So we're about 100 times larger than when we first did the interview in 2008.
I asked you back then if you were going to succeed, and you kind of looked at me as if to say, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought at the time, I thought most likely we would fail.
You did?
Yeah.
What about now?
Now I think we will most likely succeed.
For us, it was really interesting to go back 10 years after we originally went out, because the original premise was Detroit, and specifically GM, versus Silicon Valley, and specifically Tesla. GM, a huge company. At the time, they were investing in this new hybrid called the Volt, and that was supposed to be the future. We interviewed Bob Lutz, who's this great, iconic, world-renowned car executive.
A lot about General Motors' reputation and image is riding on this.
That is probably an understatement.
And so basically, in your mind, it has to succeed.
Of course it does. For what it's worth, I stake my reputation on it.
And it's interesting to see 10 years later, they're terminating the Volt project, which a decade ago they really touted and showed us and said, this is the future of American driving.
Do you think that you are going to be the General Motors of the future?
I would describe it differently. I think really the goal of Tesla Motors is to help accelerate the advent of the electric vehicle. The whole point of Tesla is to accelerate the advent of electric vehicles.
Elon Musk, as opposed to all these other people, he's the one really driving the change. Doesn't mean that his car and his company are gonna end up, owning the market. We don't know, and we honestly don't really think so. But his vision has really guided the change in how Americans drive today.